about one of my favorite subjects. This is all about optimization. It's all about working efficiently. And I've been finding that a lot of people don't know how to work their computer properly. So I think the most important thing with learning how to use your computer is learning how to use it efficiently and fast. And there's so many ways that you can actually do this. So what I'm going to do actually is start a share screen. This will allow me to actually show you what's going on in my screen. There we go. Okay, everyone can see my shared screen now. Okay, great. So remember, you can keep that chat going if you want to, but if you want to, I can also unmute any one of you if you have something urgent to ask, and I think if it's relevant to what we're talking about, we can always chat in that regard. But yeah, so I'm very excited. I'm actually in charge of the IT in our company, and it's quite ironic that I'm in charge of IT because realistically, I know a decent amount, but it's actually not as much as, you know, like IT guys or whatever the case is. But whenever something goes wrong in our company, I'm the person that gets called. So I know the basics of how to run a computer. I know the basics of everything. So what I'm going to be doing is just starting you off on the basics of how to keep a computer neat and tidy, how to optimize everything that you do, how to troubleshoot. We're also going to be going over some keyboard shortcuts. What else? We're going to be doing just some tips and tricks on how to run a computer efficiently. Okay, so let's start off with the basics. So as you can see, you're already looking at my computer screen. I always say to make a computer feel like yours, especially if you're using a work computer, just change the background, make it something motivational, make it nice and pretty. But otherwise, the first thing you'll notice is how clear my background is in terms of like, there's nothing, like all my important stuff I've put on the side here. I often, when I help out our staff and I'll go to the computer and they'll say, Nikki, something's wrong, just make it work. And I look at their desktop and it's just, the entire desktop is just a multitude of files. I can't see anything on their background. It's literally just a trillion files and it's really difficult to navigate around. So especially if you're using a work laptop, if you've got a personal laptop, you can kind of do what you want with it. But if you're using a work laptop from home, I strongly suggest you keep your desktop as neat and tidy. I mean, it really is like looking at your desktop. So imagine you sitting at your desk at work and there's just coffee cups and junk and chip packets everywhere. That's basically what a desktop looks like if it's got files everywhere. So you just want to keep it neat and tidy. It helps you focus as well, because I know when I'm working on something fresh, like I've got a bookkeeper spec, I leave it on the desktop, and then when I'm done with it, I'll move it off to my spec file. So touching on keeping a desktop neat and tidy, I love having folders and subfolders for everything. So often a lot of these things, I could actually probably find a subfolder for them, but I'm currently still using them. So that's why I keep it on my desktop. But I have folders for everything. So for example, let's go to my Nicky desktop folder. This is a classic example of stuff that I would normally put on my desktop, but I'm putting in a file because I want it to be nice and neat and tidy. Okay, so my Nicky desktop folder, as you can see, I've got a multitude of folders here. I've actually got subfolders inside of subfolders inside of subfolders. It just helps me navigate. I know where everything is. I know what to do. Just go into my induction file. This is where I actually induct our new staff. I have everything here. Then I have folders upon folders upon folders. I know you might think, oh, but that's just so unnecessary. But trust me, when you're looking for something or someone else is using your computer for any unknown reason, especially if it's a work laptop, it helps them find out where things are. So what I'm going over today is stuff to keep your work, like tips and tricks for your work laptop and how to keep it neat and tidy and how to make sure that it's safe. And that because often what happens is other people use your laptop and they can't find anything, and that's the worst. Often when our past staff, I've had to go through their laptops and I actually can't find anything. I don't know where the documents are saved. I don't know anything, and it's just quite unnecessary to have an untidy desktop. Okay, so let's go through that. I've mentioned keeping your folders neat and tidy, having subfolders, name them appropriately. Sometimes I will be lazy and I'll have certain folders that I actually don't name properly. So let's try to find it. I'm going to show you my downloads folder. My downloads folder, I often don't really name things properly. Like you look at this and you'll be like, what's Rodell, you know? But I know what it is. There's nothing in there anyone else would need to find. So you can see my downloads folder is a little bit untidy, but I've named things appropriately so I know what they are. No one else will ever need to have access to this, so I don't need to name it appropriately. But that's an example of how I name my folders. So you can see I've got a multitude of folders where I put everything appropriately. But I mean, I think I've touched on enough of just keeping your folders neat and tidy. Next is actually folder views. So this is quite interesting. So let's go into another folder. let's just say that you struggle to view things. Like, so the way I've laid it out now, it's pretty straightforward, but you can actually change the way you view things. So if you go view and you go extra large icons, this helps for people who don't have great eyesight. And so you can actually change the way the folders are viewed. So the way I've done it is that way, but you can't actually see what's in the folder. Whereas if you go sometimes large icons, it sometimes can, especially if you've got images, it'll actually show you the image. So when you go extra large icons, if there were any images inside these folders, you would actually see them on the front now. So that's something it's not a lot of people know, that you can actually change the way you view your icons, and it's just literally up here. Also mentioning, I'm currently working off of Windows 10. It is the most recent Windows. None of the other Windows are supported anymore. So if you're working on, for example, Windows 98 or 2000 or whatever the case is, those are seriously out of date. I strongly suggest that you get the latest Windows. It's just because if something goes wrong, let's just say you're on Windows 2007, which were on before moving to 2010, there's no support anymore. So if something goes wrong on the computer, people don't know how to fix it anymore because it's so outdated. So I strongly suggest that we keep on the latest Windows. Okay, so if you have an older Windows, you actually might not see things the way I'm seeing them right now. So again, just keep in mind, I'm working with Windows 10 at the moment. Okay, so after the folder view, I also strongly suggest that you clear out your recycle bin. So often what a lot of people do is they end up deleting files and folders, and after many years, you will end up having thousands and thousands of folders in your recycle bin. So just to keep a computer neat and tidy and fast, you want to delete all unnecessary folders. So if you look under your recycle bin, you're probably noticing a whole lot of folders. I don't think any of you probably have ever deleted anything in your recycle bin. Remember that if you delete something, it'll go to your recycle bin. If you delete it from your recycle bin, it's officially gone. So just make sure that anything you have deleted, you actually don't need anymore. So I know everything in here I really don't need anymore. So you can actually clear out your recycle bin. I suggest clearing out your recycle bin twice a year or so, maybe once a year, depending on the amount of things you are deleting. You want to keep your desktop neat, you want to keep your folders neat, and what slows down a computer is actually when you have thousands and hundreds of thousands of unnecessary folders. And you think, oh, but my recycle bin only has 198 items, that's nothing, I don't have to worry about that. But trust me, by the end of the year, I'm going to have probably about 30,000 folders in there. So just keep it neat and tidy. And again, remember that if you delete something out your recycle bin, it's officially gone. Whereas if you mistakenly delete something, you can actually find it in your recycle bin and you can just restore it. So for example, let's just say I mistakenly deleted this one and I actually want to restore it. You go restore and it'll go back to wherever you deleted it from. So if you ever delete something by mistake, you can find it in your recycle bin. All right, so that's, I was talking about clearing out the recycle bin. Now there's another tip for you that this one actually helped me a lot. So when you open up your folders, if you look to your left-hand side, you'll notice something called quick access. Now, I work in a highly administrative job, which means I have hundreds of thousands of documents on my computer that I'm constantly using, especially because I do timesheets every week for a lot of my clients, which means I'm dealing with dozens of timesheets every single week, week upon week, and I've been here for years now. So I've got thousands of timesheets that every week I need to store, I need to look after. And so quick access is an area where you can actually put what they call pin. You can pin folders, and so you can access them quickly all the time. So let me show you how to pin a folder. Okay, so you're going to find a folder. You can right click on it. You can go pin to quick access. Okay, when you pin a folder, it'll appear on your quick access. So I have pinned all of these folders. All I did was find them, right click and say pin to access. When you do that, now every time I want to access so we have a server here that has shared information. So the server, this is our server over here. If ever I need to access our server, everything is here. Now to actually find the server on the computer without having quick accessed it, you actually have to go through this PC, you have to go through a multitude of folders to eventually find it. It's quite a long schlep. In my first few months at the company, we live in the users folder. So my first few months, I constantly click on this folder, click on that folder, click on that folder. Eventually I'd find the users folder. And I thought, surely I do this every day, like 5 times a day. Surely there's a way to just make it quicker. And that's where quick access comes in. What also helps with quick access is if you make a document, so let's open up Word. Okay. When you want to save a document, so I'm going to go blank document. I'm going to type out a little a pretend document here and I want to save it now. And you go save as, and you go browse. Okay. The great thing about quick access is it automatically becomes part of your save folder. So this is also really handy, for example, if people are emailing you documents and you say save as, and you can actually find all your quick access here. So I pin things not only for me to find it on the desktop, but for me to actually save things. So I know I'm constantly saving things to my intelligence folder, which is where I put all my candidate information. So you can pin, trust me, pinning things, although you might think, oh, it's going to save me 2 seconds, trust me, 2 seconds adds up. If you're doing that 2 seconds, 6 times a day, over a week, over a year, you're saving your time, you're saving a lot of time in the end. So that's quick access. I'm just going to check and see if anyone's asked any questions, just so I can make sure, because I actually can't see it. Okay, no one's asked any questions. Okay, I'll leave that open just in case. Okay, so that's quick access. It's really, really useful. I highly recommend that you pin anything that you're using constantly. It just makes your life so much easier and quicker. Okay, so we've covered that. Next, I'm going to speak about backing up your computer. So if you work for a company that looks after your computer and has almost like an IT company looking after you, you'll normally have either an Office 365 license or some sort of cloud storage system. If you do not have a cloud storage system and you have a Gmail, you can actually, Google Drive is a nice way to back up anything. That's a whole different subject though, but I'm just touching on ways you can back up your computer. Either way, it's going to be Google Drive or some sort of storage system that your company's given you. Either way, I strongly suggest backing up anything you do as often as possible. I normally say once a month at worst, but it depends how data heavy your company is. For example, as I said, I get weekly timesheets. Now, it's not the end of the world if I lose those timesheets because I do save them in my Outlook. So I actually have, I have doubles or triples of the same folder in many different areas. So I'm okay if I don't back up once, every week or so. I don't back up once a month. So I've got Office 365. It's a completely separate subject. We can go into that afterwards if you want to. But I strongly suggest either way, even if you use a USB or something like that, you need to back up your work as often as you can. Just think if you lost your computer today, how are you going to find it? How are you going to find all the information? So, some people use actual external hard drives. If it's not a lot of data, you can use a USB. Otherwise, Google Drive is a nice free one you can use if you have a Google account. Otherwise, if you have a company, normally you have Office 365. Again, that's called OneDrive under Office 365. So we can touch on that later if anyone has any questions about that. But my most important point is just to back up everything that you can. Okay. Also, while working in a document, often what happens, I see this happens so often, is I'll have a staff member typing out an entire document. They will literally have an essay 5-6 pages long of whatever they need to do, and something happens and it's gone. And they don't know where it is, what happened to it. And the problem is if you don't save it while you're doing it, chances are I won't be able to find it. But there are different ways of finding it. But my point is that save as much as you can. So often what I do is before I even start a document, so I'll actually go and I'll save it. So you can see here, I can actually save it to my OneDrive, which is my Office 365, or I'll just save it to wherever I need to save it. And basically, I need to make sure I save it before I even start writing, just so I know it's there and I know it's safe. Okay, so I've now mentioned speaking about backing up and storage. Next is actually the internet. So I'm going to show you how to bookmark. Now, if you look at my Google account here, everything that I use often comes up here. So remember, this is my work. Even though it's my personal Gmail, I only use it for work really. So everything here is things I use for work. So if you open up your Google page, you should have a list of all your most accessed items, which is great. But certain times I access websites that I actually use maybe once or twice a week, but I still need to find it. And this is what bookmarking is all about. So these are all my bookmarks. These are all the websites that I go to on a regular basis. So instead of going www.facebook.com and then going there, you know what, I bookmarked it. I just click on it and it takes me right there. So bookmarking is great, and I'm going to now show you how to bookmark. It's really, really easy. So I'm going to go back to, my main screen. I'm going to think of a website that I don't often go to. Okay, well, I'm just going to make one up. I don't know. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm just going blank. I'm trying to think of a random website. Okay, I don't think I've bookmarked Canva, so I'm going to go to Canva, canva.com. How you bookmark a website is by pressing the little star here. Literally, just press that star. What will happen then is it'll appear, if you already have a whole bunch of bookmarks like I do, what will happen is it'll appear over here. Okay, so this is all my bookmarks here. And if you have multitude of bookmarks, it'll just extend even longer. So you can bookmark anything by pressing star. Okay, now let's go to somewhere that I already have bookmarked. Let's go to PNet. Because it's already bookmarked, you will notice the star is now blue, which means it's been bookmarked. Okay, so any website you go to constantly on Google, just trust me to bookmark it. It saves you even those few seconds of typing it out again. It really helps. Now, for those who have a Google account, I'm just going to touch on something real quick here. What's really nice about Google is it actually saves your passwords. I do not recommend saving your passwords for anything that you feel you don't want anyone to have access to. We don't know how secure the internet is. People say Google is the safest thing, but who knows? I never save my banking passwords on Google, but I will save passwords like my PNet password and my Facebook password. Really, if someone gains access to my Facebook, I don't care. I mean, they can do whatever they want. There's nothing personal on there. But again, if you feel your Facebook is personal, do not save your Facebook password onto your Google account. For those who don't have a Google account, I actually think your computer might offer to save your password. I recommend it for anything that you don't, because I mean, I have thousands of passwords. I'm not going to remember all of them. I often just have my Google save it. And again, I have a separate password for my banking, and anything highly private, I have a completely separate password for. Never, ever, ever use the same password for anything. Because I mean, I've seen this time and time again. You'll get an email coming through saying, your account's been hacked, or they'll have some really strong grasping email that'll come through and you're like, oh my goodness, I need to enter my details in here or else, you know, and that's how they gain your details. And often what will happen is your password that you put in there, people often use the same password for everything else. And automatically there's like a virus or computer bot that goes and actually saves that password and now automatically tries to access your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your PNet, your Vodacom password account, your website, whatever the case is. It's going to use that password on every platform that it can think of that any human being would use. And one by one, it'll gain access to your Facebook. It'll gain access to your LinkedIn, you know. So please do not use the same passwords for everything. I only use the same password for everything if I don't care if someone hacks it. So just keep that in mind for just password protection. So it's just a general internet tip and trick. All right, so next is actually something that people don't think about, but trust me, this saves a lot of time. All right, so I'm going to go into a Word document that has a lot of text in it. I'm now going to teach you keyboard shortcuts. So this is something that not only you can use in Word, but you can use in your emails, you can use actually almost anywhere. So the first thing I want to teach you is print. So what a lot of people do is they often open up their home screen and they might want to print something on there, but they don't know how, but you want to take a computer, like for example, print screen. So if you look on your keyboard, you'll notice there's something called print screen. You press that button, it actually takes a screenshot of whatever you're working on currently, and then you can actually go and you can print it. So let me show you how to do that. So it's going to, okay, Control V. Okay, there we go. So I literally took a screenshot of my screen. Remember, I used the print screen option. That it's literally a letter on your keyboard. It says PRT SCR. You will notice it on your keyboard. You can press that. It takes a screenshot of whatever is happening on your desktop. So whether I have Facebook open, it'll take a picture of the Facebook, whatever the case is. This is really handy if you're having computer problems and you're on the phone with someone, you're like, no, but it's showing me this, and they're like, what are you talking about? You can take a screenshot of that. So, and if you want to, for some unknown reason, print this, you actually go Control P. Control P means print. This not only works within Word, it works within Outlook. It works within almost anything you want to print. Control P will normally bring up the print option. Sometimes I have, we have a CRM called Intelligence. That's actually where we store like candidate data. Sometimes there's certain things I want to print on there, but there's actually no print option within Intelligence. I don't think it's built into the software. So I normally just Control P and I can print whatever I'm seeing there. Or I can take a print screen and then print that. So again, there's multiple ways to actually print whatever you're looking at. But Control P is the keyboard function for print. So you press Control, you press P, Normally, whatever you're looking at will automatically, a print option will come up. There are exceptions, so there are exceptions. And this is why keyboard shortcuts are great. They normally work for everything, but as with everything, there are exceptions. If you do Control P and nothing happens, it means it doesn't work for that option. So some programs, it just doesn't work, but most of the time it does work. So that's a nice option there, Control P. It's good for printing things. Whenever I'm typing a document and it's time to print, instead of going File, Print, whatever the case is, I'm saving a few seconds by going Control P. Again, what I'm teaching you is not monumental. Almost everyone knows keyboard shortcuts, but for those who don't, this is super duper useful and it really speeds things up. Okay, so after Control P, we can do the keyboard shortcut for cut. So instead of highlighting something, Control, cut, where's cut, there is cut. You know, that's a few seconds you're taking to do that. And that's a few seconds you can save by going, you highlight it and you go Control X. Control X is cut. So how you do it is you hold down Control, you press X, you release them both. Control X is cut. Okay, so you can do that for anything. If you don't want to cut something and you want to copy something, again, highlight it. Control C is copy. And as you can see now, let's paste it. Okay, so some of you might be thinking about how you're pasting it without going right click paste. I'm actually pressing Control V. Okay, if you want to paste something, Control V. Okay, so cutting is Control C. No, sorry, copying is Control C, cutting is Control X, pasting is Control V. So whether you cut or copy, either way, Control V, paste it. Okay, so what often happens with a lot of people that I help with their computers is that they'll come to me and they go, Nicky, I don't know what I did, but the whole document's gone. I deleted everything by mistake. It's all gone. I don't know how to get it back. And then I'll say, my first option is to go Control Z. Control Z is undo. So just like you have if you can see the top of the screen here, we have undo here and redo. Control Z is an automatic keyboard shortcut for undo. Now this, I mean, again, all the keyboard shortcuts I'm showing you is not just for Word, because I mean, I don't actually use Word that often. I'm talking about anything you do on your computer. So I'm going to go into my Nicky desktop and I'm going to delete everything here. And people think I'm crazy by doing this, so delete all of it. And this often happens. People go, oh my gosh, Nicky, I don't know what I did. Everything is gone. I just disappeared. Control Z. Which that's not going to work because I've got Control Z. There we go, all back. Control Z is not only for Word, not only for Outlook, it normally undoes any function that you have just performed. Again, there are exceptions. Okay, my computer is being a bit funny, there we go. Okay, so there are exceptions, so don't rely on Control Z for everything. But normally, if you've done something silly on your computer and you're like, oh my goodness, I should not have done that. I don't know, I don't know what to do. Control Z it, it'll normally undo whatever you've just done. This has saved my life so many times, and I've applied it in the weirdest ways. So we've got an SMS system on our computer where I can bulk SMS people. And I mean, for example, for example, I can enter this. And what often happens is that I want to bulk SMS numbers. It's quite a clumsy system. It's not very user-friendly. But let's just say I'm typing in a number. So 73, 612, 2852. And let's just say, often what happens, because I'm pasting numbers off of our CRM, often there's gaps in between. So I'll go, okay, I need to delete those gaps. And mistakenly, I'll delete an extra digit. And I'm like, I don't know this person's number. So now I'm going to have to go back into the CRM and copy and paste the whole thing again, purely because I deleted that one digit. And I can't send an SMS with the digit missing. Control Z, it's back. Okay. So you can actually undo almost any action through your computer by pressing Control Z. Again, I have to repeat to you, it doesn't always work. And it's very disappointing sometimes when I do an action and I'm like, nah, Control Z, and then nothing happens. So sometimes these keyboard shortcuts aren't always applicable to every application, but generally on the Windows system, on any MS, Microsoft Office, on the internet, normally it works pretty well. Okay, so after that, I'm going to cover what's next. Okay, so we've done undo, we've done paste, we've done print screen. Okay, so another shortcut, which is quite handy, is actually to bold, italics, all that kind of stuff. So if I want to bold this paragraph, Control B. Okay, Control B is bold or unbold, whichever the case is. So this is automatically bolded. I want to unbold it, Control B. Okay, it is underlined. I don't want it underlined anymore, Control U. Okay, so this is the literal part of it. So it's Control B, which bolds it, Control U, which underlines it, Control R makes it italics. Quite nice and steady. It's quite nice and easy. And this is really useful when I'm writing emails. Sometimes you write a really long email, you want lots of bullet points and whatnot, and you want people to understand your email nicely. This is not just for Microsoft Word, this is for emails as well. Again, it works actually in almost all sections. So even if I sometimes go on a website, again, not all websites will do it, but I think Facebook won't allow you because Facebook doesn't have bold and italics for your status. But normally if you enter any information into any area where you have text, you can normally bold or italics it. Even if on the app there's no function to bold or italics, normally you should be able to just by doing the keyboard shortcuts. Again, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So take it with a pinch of salt. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the application, but generally for all Windows and Microsoft Office applications and emails, it should work. So it's a nice little shortcut there that you can use. Another really good shortcut that I use actually a lot is Control A. Control A is select all. So often what happens is you come into a document and you need to copy the entire content and paste it onto an email. Control A is select all. Control A, funny enough, will actually select all on a website as well. So I'm going to go to, let's go to LinkedIn, and I'll press Control A. It'll select everything on the page. So Control A is literally select all. Control A, there we go. See, just selecting everything. So sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. Control A, it literally just select all. So I'm going to now go back to the document because I wanted to actually select all, and I'm going to Control C it because I want to copy it. So I've now Control C that. I know you can't see that I did that, but I did. Let me open my Outlook and let me show you. I'm now going to paste it into an email. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go new email, and I'm going to go Control V for paste. Takes a while to warm up, and voila. Okay, so instead of, now I know you might be thinking, oh, Nikki, it's going to take me 2 seconds to highlight everything, but trust me, everything adds up. Instead of now going, okay, I'm going to select all of this, and take 2 seconds to do that, but now I'm just going to go Control A. Voila, it's all selected. Okay, so keep in mind when you Control A within an email, it's going to select your signature as well. So when you select Control A, you will highlight all. There's no way to like only highlight one little paragraph by using Control A. If you want to highlight one little paragraph, you have to do it manually. Okay, so that's an example of that. And I was touching on earlier how you can, within emails, do bold and whatnot. So again, you can do it in your emails as well. Okay, so we've done Control A. Now Control F is actually really useful. Recruiters use this a lot. Now I unfortunately can't open a CV to show you how we use it, but let's just say this was a person's CV I'm looking at right now. So I've got a PA job out and I'm needing someone who's used a program called Pastel. Okay, so I'm going to Control A the CV. I want to highlight every single word in that document, and I'm going to Control F it. Control F means find. And I'm looking for pastel. Okay, you see nothing, no matches. Okay, there's no word of pastel in this entire email, in this entire document, which means that this person has not used pastel before. Now, chances are, I mean, in the job requirement, it said they have to use pastel, which means surely on their CV, they should have the word pastel. Sometimes people don't include all their programs, which is fine. I'll still manually go through their CV. But certain programs, like you have to use. You have to put in your CV. So that's a good way to use Control F4. Again, you can apply this to your own job, to whatever you do. Let's just say that you're on a website, okay, and you have to now find some information. Sorry, I keep seeing this little thing drop down. I need to actually move that. So I'm on a website now, and I need to find something very specific. Let's go to Facebook. Okay, I'm gonna Control A. Let's see if it works. I've used it on Facebook before. Control F. Oh, it does work. Okay. And I'm going to look for the word, I don't know, home. Okay. And it Has not found it. Okay. Either way though, this works on websites. If you're looking for something specific and you need to find it, it's Control A to highlight everything, Control F, and it'll go to, F stands for find. So it'll find whatever you're looking for and all you have to do is type it in. Okay. All right. So a shortcut that I actually almost never use, but when I was younger, I used to use it a lot, is Control F4. Control F4 closes whatever you have. It closes it, it exits it. So it's trying to ask me now if I want to save, because I'm telling it to exit. And it's closing it. So it's going to actually leave Word open because I closed that specific document. But normally what happens, if you're in a program that doesn't want to close and you keep on trying to close it, but your screen is frozen, Control F4 is the keyboard command for end this task. Okay. Again, I don't actually use it often. I used to a lot when I was younger, before I knew a computer better. But again, it is there if you need to use it. Now, these keyboard shortcuts, I've mentioned the ones that I use the most. There are so many more to use. I mean, you can Google it, and there's dozens and dozens. But I've mentioned the ones that I feel I use the most and are the most useful. But again, depending on your job, there might be ones that are more useful for you. So you can actually go check that out in Google. Just Google keyboard shortcuts. Okay, next is troubleshooting. So a lot of people come to me and they say, Nikki, I don't know what's wrong with the computer. There's just something not happening. I don't know, it's just frozen, and I was literally typing on Word and it's gone. So what I normally do is, if the computer is frozen, do not click excessively. People's first option is to go, oh, exit, 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 or they double click, or they try to open things and nothing's happening, and they keep trying to open things or move things. And literally what happens is, when the computer's frozen, it doesn't forget what you've told it to do. It'll remember. So whenever something's frozen, I'm clicking open, 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 it'll actually remember that it's trying to, that I've told it to open. And when it unfreezes, if it unfreezes, all of a sudden you'll have dozens of things opening at the same time. So don't freak out and start clicking on things and you're clicking everything you can find, and just leave it for a second, leave it for about 10 seconds. If nothing happens, and you're sure it's frozen. So normally my first option is to try and close it. So let's just say this little image here said not responding, it's frozen. My first option is to press escape. If nothing happens and it still says not responding, whatever the case is, or the entire computer's frozen and my mouse isn't moving, nothing's happening, and I'm pressing escape, nothing's happening, I want you to go to Control, Alt, Delete. Okay, Control, Alt, Delete. This opens up your task manager. I actually don't know if you all can see my task manager. Hold on a sec, let me open this up. Okay, I'm gonna press it again. When I pressed it earlier, did everyone see it? No. Hold on a sec. Okay, can someone use the chat and just let me know if you saw it earlier? I'm not too sure how far no, okay, oh man. Okay, well, I wasn't too sure what you'd be able to see and what you wouldn't be able to see. But either way, I'm actually gonna maybe see if I can take a screenshot of it. Control, Alt, Delete. You hold Control, you hold Alt, and you press Delete all at the same time. If you all do that now, you will notice something come up. It says lock, switch user, sign out, change password, task manager. I'm gonna press task manager. Okay, can you all see my task manager? Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Okay, so this is what you're gonna look at. Control, Alt, Delete. If nothing happens when you press Control, Alt, Delete, it either means you're not pressing it properly, or it means that your computer's properly frozen. It's normally my go-to. If my computer's completely frozen, I can't move anything, nothing's happening, the first thing I will do is Control, Alt, Delete. If nothing still happens, it means your computer's properly frozen. That means nothing you do is gonna help it. What I normally do is then called a hard reboot. I will hold down the power button, I think for a couple seconds, and normally your computer will force shut down. I'll then restart it, and normally upon restarting, I'll then start troubleshooting. I'll try and see what happened, because it normally should restart. Normally all your programs will be closed, and you can just try and figure out what caused it. But yeah, so if it does work, if you are able to open Task Manager, it just means that that program, that specific one, is not responding. So if it was a Microsoft Word document, or if it was a specific program that you had open, maybe that specific program is bugging out, you can actually force stop it. So let's just say my Zoom froze. All I have to do is go and end task. Now, I'm not going to click it now, otherwise this meeting will end. But all you have to do is press end task. This is a nice way of force closing down any program. This is like the ultimate. Even Control F4 sometimes doesn't always close things. If you want to officially close something that's not responding, you go Control Alt Delete, go to your task manager, and you will go to your processes will automatically be open, and you can force shut down anything here. Normally that should end the program, and normally it should work. Worst case scenario, if that doesn't work, I will close everything else down and I will restart the computer manually. Okay, so remember, you don't want to force reboot your computer for nothing. It is whatever you had open will not be saved. It's almost like you're knocking your computer unconscious. It's not great for it. So you want to actually just, if you can manually restart your computer, then do it manually. So, but sometimes the computer's frozen properly, you got to force restart it. Okay, so this is Task Manager. This is the back end look into your computer. It's actually very interesting. If you want to learn more about your computer and how it functions and just what your programs do, this is a really nice place to play around, just to look. So if you can look here, CPU usage is how much your computer is using at the moment. If you had 100% CPU usage, normally your computer will freeze completely and not work at all. So you can see the CPU usage is how much your computer is functioning right now. And mine's jumping up quite high because I am actually using Zoom, and it is taking up most of my computer's capacity. My computer is quite old, so it's not a very highly functional computer. So Zoom is currently killing it, but it's fine. We're still functional. And memory, this is where your computer can only function at so many tasks at a time. And if your memory is really, really, really high, your computer's going to be very slow. Unfortunately, with memory, something called RAM, RAM, random access memory, you actually have a slot in your computer where the RAM goes. Now, you can get a 2 GB RAM, you can get a 4 GB RAM, whatever the case is. Normally, the higher the gigabytes the RAM is, the more memory you will have, and the less percentage you'll have here. So if, let's just say my memory was on 20%, that means my computer should be functioning pretty quickly. The higher this percentage is, normally the slower your computer is. So if you're telling me, Nikki, my computer is always slow, it is terrible, no matter what, I click an icon and it takes 10 minutes to open it, normally it's because your memory is full. This means deleting stuff won't actually help in this case. You need to actually get more RAM. This is a computer hardware update. But again, this is a bit more advanced. I'm not going to go on that right now. Again, if you want to know more about it, you can ask questions and I'll answer at the end. Okay, so this is just, I want to show you the task manager. It's a nice look at your computer. You can also see how your computer is performing. So as I touched on earlier, memory will slow down. The higher it is, it'll slow down your computer. CPU is just your computer completely functioning right now. And Wi-Fi shows you Wi-Fi connection. It's a nice back end look into your computer if you want to fiddle around and see what's going on. Okay, next is I often have people telling me, Nikki, I'm connected to I don't know if I'm connected to the internet. I go on Google. I can't even open my Facebook. Nothing's happening. I can't even open Google, whatever the case is. The first thing I will tell them is the internet connected? So if you look at the bottom of your screen, normally you will see Wi-Fi over here. Okay, so normally I actually have this happen a lot at home, funny enough, not so much at work, but often at home I'll be connected to the Wi-Fi, but there'll be no internet connection. Look, I'm not an IT expert, and my fiance is an IT, so he's normally the one who fixes this. But sometimes it'll happen where I'm connected to the internet, there is Wi-Fi connected, but there's no internet coming. Normally it's something wrong with the actual router itself. I'm not going to go into that. That's something a bit more technical. But my first thing is, if you're saying there's no internet and you can't connect to Facebook or whatever the case is, go to your Wi-Fi connection. It's normally at the bottom here. Open it up, and you'll see here. Normally it'll say here, no connected, but no internet. And that's when you know something's wrong with your internet. You need to sort that out. Look, I'm not going to go into troubleshooting of internet problems. That's something completely different and quite technical. But a nice way for you to test to make sure, let's just say that your internet is working, but it's very slow and you don't know what's causing it. You don't know if it's a computer or if it's internet. We're going to go to speedtest.net. Okay, speedtest.net tells you your internet connection, tells you how fast it is. So this is really, really good if you don't know if it's your internet or your computer that's making things slow. So I'm now going to click on go. Okay, and what it does is it now slowly, okay, it's going to be very slow because I have Zoom open, but it's going to tell me my upload and my download speed. So right now it's looking at my download speed. It's measuring it over a course of time. So it's not just going to measure it once off, it measures it over a few seconds just to make sure the connection is stable. Okay, now it's measured my download speed to 50 megabytes per second, which is actually really, really fast. So that's great. And now it's measuring my upload speed. Okay, upload speed's also around about the same, which is super duper fast. Actually, we've got really good internet connection here. Okay, so what would happen is if your internet was slow and you don't know if it's a computer or if it's internet, by doing this speed test, speedtest.net, and you're seeing really, really low numbers here, like 2 or 3 or 4, then it's your internet and not your computer. So just a little bit of extra information there. So remember, whenever something's wrong with your computer, normally something is causing it. So what I'm teaching you is called troubleshooting. It's just eliminating options. So I'm not offering you solutions just yet. What I am offering you is just figuring out maybe the right direction of what might be wrong. So if you looked at this and you saw your internet connection was super duper low, I would contact your internet company. From there, I can't help you, but contact your internet company. It might just be a dip in the internet. It often happens where I go on Facebook and I see everyone from Vodacom's complaining their internet's really bad. So it might just be that. But again, I'm just showing you how to figure out where the problem's coming from. Okay, so we've gone over testing your Wi-Fi and your internet speed. Okay, next is an antivirus. So a lot of people, especially when they don't know, like websites are getting really clever nowadays with masking their adverts. And sometimes those adverts actually have viruses in them. So for example, if you look at the speed test here, you can clearly see this is an advert and you can clearly see that's an advert. But sometimes they are so clever that you don't even know if it's an advert or not. So you don't know what link to click on because you're like, that looks like an advert, but I don't know, could it be? Anyways, you end up clicking on it because you think, okay, well it looks like it's part of the program, let me click on it. And it ends up taking you to some dodgy websites and you end up getting a virus. So I strongly suggest if you're not sure if it's an advert, just don't click on it. Just don't click on adverts in general. Some of them can be end up being quite dodgy. But if you happen to click on an advert by mistake and it takes you to a website and all of a sudden your computer crashes or whatever the case is and you think it might be a virus, I'm not recommending any free software over any other, but I'm only recommending one that I've used before. So Avast I have used before. It is free. It helps clear up any viruses. They're always going to prompt you to go for the paid option, but there is a free option. It's nice to use, I think, for like a 30-day trial or something like that. Just to clear out your computer once and for all. And then often what I do is I delete it afterwards because you don't want to end up paying for it. So I delete it. And then if my computer goes funny again, I download it again, make another profile, and then I use it for 30 days to clear out my computer. So as an agency here in Westville, as a company, we have our own software. I think it's called Reboot. It's somewhere here, but the IT company installed it. So we have our own antivirus. Every company should have their own antivirus installed, and if they don't, well, it's a bit irresponsible. You need to have an antivirus on your computer. But as someone using your home computer, you can't always afford an antivirus. Also, sometimes antivirus charge you a fortune when they actually don't do much. So use a free one for a little bit, just clear out your computer, and if you're suspecting there's a virus, and then you can use it, just take it off, and then when you suspect you might have clicked on a dodgy link again, you can download it again. Okay. So Avast is something I've used. I know there's so many other antiviruses out there, but Avast is just one I've used. So I can recommend it from that space, but there might be more that you actually prefer. All right, so next is, oh, this is gonna be fun. My favorite, Outlook. So how many of you, I'm actually gonna go to the chat here because I actually want to know, how many of you actually have Microsoft Outlook as an email that you use every day? So who of you don't have Outlook? Who don't use Outlook? Okay. All right, so I'm not getting any no's because this little section here is going to be purely on Outlook. Okay, so Outlook is, I used to use Gmail a lot because before I joined the company, I had my own and Gmail was free, so I used that the most. But Outlook is awesome, and I'll tell you now why. And I don't know if Gmail can do this. I haven't used Gmail in years, but Outlook is pretty cool. Okay. Okay, so there are some people who only use Gmail. So again, I'm going to skim over this. I'm not going to take too much time. This actually can be a huge section by itself, but I'm going to touch on it right now. I automate all my emails and all my processes. Trust me, this is my biggest time saver ever. If you use Outlook and you are very customer service heavy and you're having hundreds of emails come through every day, I have possibly between 200 to 300 emails coming through every single day. And as a company, it is our policy that we have to respond to every email within 2 days. Now, when I say that, people go, but how is it even physically possible? I mean, I'm getting thousands, sometimes even thousands of CVs over the course of a week. And my biggest trick is something called quick steps. Please Google this if you want to know more. There is so much to it. I'm going to touch on it now though. If you go right click on any email and you go quick steps, can you see my gigantic list of quick steps? People often think they're very unique, but in my experience, I found a lot of people are quite similar and often they ask the same questions. So I have, I think, like 10, 11, 12 quick steps here, which means that basically when someone emails me, I can do an automatic response. So emails that I make quick steps out of are things like thank you, because often you want to send the person an email saying, I've received your email, thank you, but there's nothing more to say. So I have a quick step for thank you. I have a quick step for you don't have any dates on your CV. You know, I'll elaborate a lot more on my quick step. Like I write a beautiful long email, but these are basically the purposes of my quick steps. Sometimes people send me a link to their CV that doesn't work. Sometimes I want to interview a person for a job. Sometimes I want to interview them super duper urgently because their job needs to be filled. Sometimes if someone just sends me their CV and I don't have anything for them. Sometimes they send their CV for a job, but you know, unfortunately they're not suitable. So I've got a quick step for everything. And to activate a quick step, all I have to do is have the email highlighted and you can actually click one of these. So so Cindy's my boss. If I wanted to email her to say thank you, I would then go and press thank you. Now I'm not going to do it now because she'll know I'm quick stepping her, but you can actually have automatic emails sent through to people. Again, please go to Google and just Google quick steps. That's how I learned about it. There's a whole YouTube video around it, but I cannot explain to you how this has changed my life. As someone who receives hundreds of emails every day, quick steps has changed my life. So I'm going to quickly just go over how you can make your own. You're going to go new quick step. I normally go custom. Okay. Now within quick steps, there's so many things you can do. I'm going to name it test, just for fun. Okay, now you can add actions. Now I want to show you the list of things you can do in your quick step. You can move that email to a folder. You can copy that email to a folder. You can delete the message. You can permanently delete the message. You can mark as read. You can, you know, etc., etc., etc. There's so many things you can do in your quick step in email. And the best part is you can do as many as you want, but you have to do them one by one. So I can't select all of these and just make them do all. So normally what I do with my quick steps, I'm going to go through one that I made. Let's go to a quick step that I've made before, manage quick steps. And I'm going to show you one of my most complicated ones. Well, they're not all complicated, but let's just go regret application. All right, so I had a couple actions on this one. First one is move to folder because I don't want to delete anything up front yet. I normally only clear out my inbox twice a year or so. So I called it regret application. I'm moving this email to a folder. I've created that regret folder. It is, okay, I'm gonna actually go out so I can show you where the regret folder is. I've made a regret folder over here. Okay, I'm not gonna go on that for too long, but I've made a regret folder here, and anyone who I've quick stepped, the email automatically moves to regret. Now you can create your own folders in your inbox by right clicking and saying new folder. I highly recommend, just like I showed you on my desktop, everything has a folder, everything has a place. If you're working with huge amounts of emails every day, you need to have folders and subfolders. Trust me, you don't want to lose track of anything. I have gone through so many inboxes in my life of past staff where there's just a mess and I can't find anything on their inbox. So just make sure that you have folders, especially if you have a lot of, like if you have 2 or 3 emails a day and you're not really that active on your emails, then you don't have to. But if you are on your emails every day and you have multitude of information coming through, just make folders for everything. Anyway, so my point is that I've created that regret folder over there. So let's go back to quick steps, manage regret application, edit. Okay, so I made it move to that folder. Okay, that's my first action. My next action is mark as red because I want to know that I've actually done something with it. So I've marked it as red. Next one is reply. This is my favorite part. When you do reply, don't worry about that, don't worry about that, don't worry about that. All you do is worry about your text. So it's a very small section, but you can actually copy. I literally copied and pasted this entire section into here. So as you can see, when you send me your CV and I actually have nothing for you, or you've sent me your CV for an accountant job, but you're actually an HR manager who's never done accounting before, I'm going to quick step you and say, thank you for sending through your CV. You've not been shortlisted. However, keep an eye on these websites. So we don't just let you down just by saying, no, go away, we don't want you. You know, we actually give you advice. So here I've given you more websites to have a look at. And I've also mentioned that if you'd like some help and advice on your CV, let me know. This is something that we do as a recruitment agency, is we care about our candidates. Even if we can't help you finding a job, we can help you with your CV, whatever the case is. Okay. Remember to click automatically send. Otherwise, when you quick step someone, the email will actually pop up and you have to press send. So that's if you don't click automatically send. So if you click automatically send, the email just goes through. Okay. This has saved my life as someone who gets hundreds of emails every single day. It's amazing. So again, just Google quick steps. There's tutorials. There's so many tutorials on it. If you use MS Outlook, please do quick steps. It's amazing. I love it to bits and pieces. And this has seriously sped up my day. Some of the staff here don't use quick steps because they want to make it more personal. Because unfortunately, with quick steps, you actually can't customize it. I'm literally sending the same email to every person, which isn't great. But when you deal with the amount of emails that I get through, especially because I'm the office manager, I get a huge amount of emails through of people just saying, hey, Nikki, I need a job. And I go, okay, well, send me your CV. And I have a quick step for that saying, thanks, but send me your CV, you know? So it just makes my life a lot easier. So that's quick steps. And I've already mentioned file organization within Outlook. I mean, you can see I've got so many files here, and you can make sub files, you know? So again, your inbox is your personal thing. So I've named some folders really weird names, but otherwise you can just keep it neat. Just keep it neat and tidy. Okay, so that's MS Outlook. Now I'm running short of time. I'm gonna have to skip. We're on the last section now, so we'll be quick. Okay, I've already mentioned about passwords. Just a quick little tip and trick for when you are on the internet. Often when you go into, let's just say, a Google search. So I'm studying at the moment, and often I'll look up articles. So I'll go into Google Scholar, and I'll end up going through, I spelled it wrong. And I'll often end up opening up a multitude of files and folders. So I'll look up something. So I'm studying HR at the moment. So I'll look up, you know, trends in HR, whatever the case is that I happen to be looking up. And then I'll literally have like multiple tabs open. And sometimes what happens is that you mistakenly end up closing a couple tabs. It happens. We do silly things. So sometimes I'll end up pressing escape on all these tabs, and I've mistakenly actually closed the original tab. So I actually don't even know where those folders came from. I can't even remember what I Google searched. So I know now I researched trends in HR, but I can't remember. So I had all these wonderful articles that I'd open, and I pressed exit by mistake, and everything closes. What you can do is you can just press Control-Shift-T. Control-Shift-T. It opens up any tab that you've mistakenly closed, or even just closed. Let's just say that you're buying a birthday present for someone and you are Googling, you know, whatever the case is, whatever, cool socks or whatever, and they walk past, you don't want them to know. So you can quickly press escape. You know, no one knows that you were on that tab. Or when they walk past again, Control-Shift-T. So Control-Shift-T is really, really cool. If you have multiple tabs open, you mistakenly close them. Okay, so that's a little tip or trick there. Next is, this is super duper general, but guys, don't just pull out your USB from your computer. You need to actually safely remove it. Again, that's a whole different thing. We can touch on it at the end if anyone has any questions. Also, if you have laptops, I know a lot of works provide you with laptops. If you have any laptops, don't manhandle them. Ironically, laptops aren't that strong. So even though you feel like, but they were made to be carried around, you know, often even a little bump can actually completely loosen things. So for example, as you saw earlier when I showed you my task manager, my memory is really, really high. I actually can't get any more RAM because my RAM slot in my hardware is actually cracked. Probably from the previous person who used the computer. It could have been me, I don't know. I carry my laptop with me everywhere, and I don't remember dropping it or anything like that. But I mean, as I said, laptops are actually quite fragile. And even something like a loose hard drive or a loose component can actually almost completely break your computer, where it just says it's not functioning, you get a blue screen, and you feel like it's the end of your computer. You've done all my tips and tricks, and you're like, Nicky, this computer still isn't working. Trust me, it can literally be from too much dust in the computer, or it could be just from something going loose. So we recently had a computer of a colleague of mine who the blue screen came up constantly, hardware issue. I couldn't figure it out. We sent it to the IT company. They opened it up, and it was the one slot that had become slightly loose. It was actually the RAM slot. So he just pushed it back in, and the computer was fine. And the computer couldn't tell, that it was the RAM slot. It just was big error, something's wrong. So just make sure you look after your computer. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over the last thing now. So if you want to keep your computer working efficiently and fast, there are certain things you can do. So again, this is for if you have Windows 10, you can go to Start. You can tap in Start Up Apps. Okay. I don't know if any of you ever experienced this, but I had it quite a bit when I had Skype, and I would open up my computer and Skype would be opening, and Skype would open and open and open, and 5 minutes later it was still opening, and the whole computer was super duper slow, and it was really annoying. So Start Up Apps. So remember, all I did was go to Start and type in Start Up Apps. It actually shows you all the apps that open when you open your computer or when you start up your computer. I've switched a lot of them off. Can you see there? High impact, medium impact, low impact. Now, Reboot is our antivirus, so I'm leaving that on. Sage is our pastoral software. Sorry, it's our payroll software. I don't use it at all. It was installed on my computer just in case. I don't touch it ever. I'm switching that off. OneNote is also an example of what you find with Office 365. I never use it. I'm switching it off. And sometimes you'll find things that you actually don't know. You really don't know what they do. Just leave them. If you do not know what they know, like I don't even know what iUSB 3mon is. I have no idea. It could even be a funky app that I installed by mistake. I don't know. But I'm going to leave it because I don't know what it is. And maybe I might, if my computer's giving me problems, the first thing the IT company will do is look at that and be like, what is that, Nicky? And I'll say, I don't know. And they might even delete it if they know it's not something I need. Okay, but you can see this is low impact, this is low impact, so I can leave it. And that looks dodgy, but I know what that is. That's for my one program, so I'm going to leave it there. Audio, this is for my audio, that's for OneDrive. So all of these are important. Teams, I leave it closed because if I want to open it, I can open it manually. I don't want it to start up. So minimize your amount of startup applications, again, by going to Start and typing in startup applications, or just start up. Okay, next I'm going to do the same thing. Go there and I'm going to type in apps. Okay, app. Okay, we're going to go to apps. Okay, so sometimes, I mean, a few months ago, Cindy wanted us to start video editing and like making our own videos and stuff. So I actually downloaded a video app, but they were all junk. I literally just Googled free video applications, and I downloaded like 2 or 3, and they were actually shocking. I think they were terrible. I didn't even know how to use them. So anyways, I tried to uninstall it by clicking on it, deleting it and whatever, and it actually wouldn't uninstall. And it was a very sneaky little application. And that's the thing with free stuff, is you got to be very careful with what you download. Luckily, we have a very strong antivirus, so I knew it wasn't giving me any viruses, but it was just a really bad application. So I couldn't delete it. So what I did was I went to apps and features, and you can actually manually uninstall any program you have here. Okay. And if you're not using the application, you need to delete it. I mean, I know my computer ages ago was like 10 years old. It was actually a really good computer, but it had gotten past its expiry date. And when I went through my apps, I couldn't believe over the 10 years how many absolutely ridiculous apps I installed. So, and they were slowing down my computer so much. So if you're not using something, you know you're never ever going to use it, and it's some junk that you installed 10 years ago, please uninstall it and get rid of it. Again, it's just part of keeping your computer neat and tidy. If you don't know what it is, so sometimes I look at things and I'm like, Realtek Internet? What on earth is that? Just leave it if you don't know what it is. But I, for example, had installed Skype, and it was completely slowing down my computer so much. So I actually uninstalled it by finding it inside here. Okay, so this kind of stuff came with the computer. It was originally there, so I'm going to leave it. Right, so uninstalling apps is another way to keep your computer fast. If you happen to have your computer syncing to your phone, some people have it where their phone actually automatically connects to the computer and it actually gives all the information over all the pictures and everything you take. It's great. It's a nice way to save space on your phone, but I've actually seen this before on a number of occasions where someone synced their phone to the computer, and that constant feedback, because they took millions of photos and they had probably hundreds of thousands of photos on their phone throughout the years, because on your computer it stays. So even though it was a phone that you had 5 years ago, it's all those photos from 5 years ago are going to be on your computer. And they had, I think, like 10 or 20 gigabytes of photo and videos that actually moved over onto the computer, and it took up so much space it could slow the computer down. So if you're going to automatically sync your cell phone to your computer, just make sure that you actually stop it at a certain point, or actually put it on the cloud. So as I mentioned earlier, Google Drive, Office 365, they all have a cloud storage system. Just move over all your media onto that, and it'll save your computer that space of 10, 20 gigabytes of photos and videos that it actually never uses. Okay, all right, so lastly, there's only one more thing left. This is actually pretty cool. This is a nice way to speed up your computer. Okay, so we're gonna go to the C drive. Now, C drive is actually your hard drive, okay? It's always called the C drive. Your hard drive on your computer is called your C drive. You're gonna go right click, and go to properties, and we're going to do a disk cleanup. This basically just helps compress any old files that you're not using anymore, so it doesn't delete anything. Basically, it notices that there's this file somewhere in the background of your computer you haven't touched in 5 years. It'll basically compress it and almost like make a smaller version of it. And then when you access it again, it'll restore it to its original version. So it's basically cleaning up the disk, deleting any. The thing is, when you open a folder, there's what's called like ghost or shadow folders made of it. And even like those video programs are actually installed. Whenever I tried to do a video and it actually saved it onto my hard drive. And I deleted the program, but the saved files are still there. So that's taking up space. That's an example of things it'll clean up. Any folders, files that you don't need anymore and you've never touched, it'll actually delete it for you. But again, it will be easily accessible if you happen to try and access it again. So it's not like it ever permanently deletes it. It's almost like minimizes it and makes it smaller. So it's not affecting your computer as much anymore. So disk cleanup is a good option. Whenever your computer is really slow, I normally do a disk cleanup first. Next is defragmentation. So this is quite a long story, but basically I had a folder on my desktop that I then moved to my users folder, that I then moved to this folder, and the computer actually remembers all the places that it was. And it's called a file path. And it basically, every time I access that folder, now it goes, okay, on the desktop, no, it's not on the desktop anymore. In the users folder, okay, no, it's not there anymore. Oh, it's there. And that actually slows down your computer. So when you defragment your drive, it now goes, okay, this thing used to be on the desktop, but it's now in that folder. Delete that whole path that it used to be in. Now that's its official place. So it helps optimize the drive and basically create good paths so you can find your stuff efficiently and the computer can find it efficiently. Defragmentation takes quite a while. It is quite slow. So I would recommend doing it overnight, whereas disk cleanup normally takes 10, 20 minutes. The defragmentation can take up to a whole night sometimes. So it can be quite a thing. Okay, so basically that is all my tips and tricks for how to use a computer well. Just one more thing, I know this is super basic, but guys, if you have a laptop, don't just close your laptop and leave it there. At least, I mean, I'm guilty of it sometimes where I want to just have a quick break and I close it and I leave it. But what I'm trying to say is every night after work, when you're done working, don't just close your laptop and leave it. And that's your way of switching it off. It won't switch off. You need to actually switch your computer off. When you switch your computer off, it automatically updates. It's almost like when you sleep and you repair yourself at night, your computer it doesn't really do the same thing, but it's almost like the same thing. So when you switch your computer down and you switch it off, it actually starts to update, or it'll try to update before you switch it off, and then you can just leave it to actually update. So if you just close your computer and you're not actually switching it off properly, it actually doesn't update. So make sure to switch your computer off at least a few times a week, just to make sure that the updates come into play. And next is, if you really want to work very optimized, I actually recommend having 2 screens. I've started using 2 screens about 2 years ago, and it's changed my life. I promise you, if you can. I mean, I know screens aren't cheap, but I have two very computer-driven brothers who built their own computers from scratch, and we always had spare screens lying around. So I was able to just grab one of their old computer screens that they didn't want to use anymore and plug it into mine, and I have two screens, which is amazing. So you can actually have documents open there, documents open there. You can actually drag things across. And for someone like me who's very documentation-driven, it helped me a lot. So last tip and trick, get a double screen if you can. Okay, so I've now covered everything. I'm just going to go through questions. If anyone has anything they want to ask, I know I'm running over time, sorry. This is so much to talk about. So if you want me to touch on another subject in another webinar, if you want to tell me, Nikki, I want a whole webinar on quick steps, that's absolutely fine. You can give me tips and any recommendations that you might want for other webinars. But otherwise, I'm basically done. If any of you have any urgent questions, you can type them in. Okay, so I'm just going to go through them from the top. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so for those who want to re-watch or re-listen, we'll actually have a YouTube video. I'm going to post this on YouTube. So everything I say, you can watch again. We also will have an audio file available. We don't have a podcast channel, but I'll have to figure that out and we can maybe do one. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, so someone asked for Microsoft Teams. Any recommendation? Microsoft Teams is pretty cool. We use it purely for our business. You can actually, it's almost like Zoom itself. You can actually invite outside people who don't have Teams onto Teams to have video interviews. It's pretty straightforward. The only problem I find is that a lot of people don't have Teams, and so they get very confused and very scared, and they go, oh, you're going to send me a link via Teams. I don't know what Teams is. So even though it's pretty much like Zoom, a lot of people get scared about Teams, even more so than Zoom. So Teams is a whole different thing though. I mean, I can show you so many cool things in Teams that you can do, backgrounds and fancy little chats and whatnot. That's a whole different subject. If you want me to do Office 365 training, I can. I trained my whole office in Office 365. That's it. Everyone's asked what they want to ask. Perfect. All right, so would you use a shared database in your office? Okay, so we do know Evernight, and we do use it. Okay, so the YouTube video I'm going to paste on social media. So I'll paste a link onto Facebook and our LinkedIn. I'll do that over the next few days. I just need to actually upload it. Hopefully I'll get it done by today or tomorrow. But yeah, basically that's everything. Yeah, that's it, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time, everyone. I had a blast teaching all of you. As you can see, it's one of my favorite subjects. So if you ever have anything you want to know or anything you want to ask, you can always contact me. I'm the office manager at Pro Talent Recruitment. It's Nicky at proappoint.co.za, or you can call me on 031-265-2000. But that's basically it. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll keep in touch. Thanks. Bye.